Hi there. I went and did my, due diligence, did some more research on something that kept popping up through my head, and I was like, I need more information on this. So what did I do? I did what I said you should do. Go do research, write it down, meditate on it, go for a walk, come back, meditate on it, open it, read it, absorb the information to make sense of it, close it. I did that probably about 4 or 5 times, okay? And I have a great amount of content to share with you. I did get my ears kind of lowered, which is getting some hairs cut. Um, and it popped in my head, kid you not, while I was getting my hair cut. It flowed through. Uh, Information channeling through you doesn't coincide with when you're ready. It just flows. When you remain open, it will flow at any time. So, let's jump into it, okay? All right. So, the topic of discussion is energy vampires. Yes, it is a real conundrum. Energy vampires is basically those who come into your life and just suck out of you all your higher energetic frequency vibration, okay? um your happiness, your joy, your expressions of love, your creativity, your uniqueness, and they try to absorb that and drop you down out of it so that they have obtained what you have because of the status that you were in. They do not learn to cultivate through their dirt to bring their own self into that state. um, Energy vampires, you will find them everywhere. You probably won't first notice them, but when you catch on and you start observing from an objective view of them being in your presence and notice what is happening to yourself, your mind field, your emotion field, your body field, your uh, level of frequency that you're at, how you might be vibrating at. You will start picking up on those cues more clearly when you are typically around that person. Um, and you might attach to it that I just can't be around you, or I don't like you, or um, there's no mesh in relating to that person because they're absorbing your status each time you see them. Okay. Um, This is not to confuse you with those that genuinely come into your experience and are actually dealing with some difficult stuff, and they're just getting an advice or a word of encouragement, a word of compassion, um, to be sent their way. Okay. You have an unlimited reserve of compassion. You have an unlimited reserve of love. Uh, it's okay to send that out. Okay. Um, that is one of the talents, one of the gifts that you came with. You're meant to send that out. But then we get conditioned, and then we get our likes and dislikes. We get our comparative analysis, and we start labeling, start judging, start criticizing that which we are observing from a subjective view, and we're dropping ourselves down, and we attached ourselves to that and put it into our file cabinet. Thought it disappeared, it didn't disappear. It will require it to come back out at some point in your timeline for you to readdress that. Yeah. Energy vampires. You don't have to be you don't have to be worried about them, but you will typically jump into the resonance of um, probably not wanting to spend most of your time around that person or group of people. Um, Like-minded people will group together, and so if you have a group of energy vampires and you have a group of highly energetic people, it's positive and negative going like this. So, a good way to remedy that is to go to calm, drop in neutrality. Okay. um, I wanted to talk about video programming. We watch a lot of things on TV, from a network show. You might get an ad on TV trying to solicit a product to you and tell you all about it. Tell you what they want you to know, rather than tell you what you should know about it with more in depth, because they're trying to sell the product to you. Same thing with a movie. They're trying to sell a story to you. If you are seeing it from a subjective view, just as it's just a movie, you're only going to see it as a subjective view. If you're looking at it in an objective view, you're going to see more of what's being told, and they don't even realize they're telling you that message. Some of them will actually purposely create movies to actually jump you into that thought field of objective viewing, without actually telling you that you're doing that. And that's where imagination comes from. Before it becomes a film, it's a thought. It's an imagination in the thought field. Gets put down on paper. It's a script. It's written out. This is the words that want to be um, stated in the film, and then they do casting. They cast based on who's going to fit that role the best, that they vision what they imagined. Okay. um, and boom, if audiences are receptive to a certain actor or actress and they fit that role, they're going to have their agent call the other person's agent to and get an oral agreement, a written agreement of participating in that film. And the agreements and contracts, we're not going to go into that. I mean, you can do your due diligence of what it requires for an actor or actress to perform in a televised film. The best is a live version, and the reason why is because there's no retakes, and the stuff that slips out that's not supposed to slip out and you catch. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Video programming, it tries to give you an elicited story of what it wants you to think, what it wants you to feel, and you might vibrate and you might resonate with it because something in your core essence or your body's resonates with it. It doesn't make it whether it's a factual statement or a false statement. It's that something in you is resonating with it that's going to draw something into your field of vision, your mental vision, to probably address. Remember, assigning no labels to anything that comes into your vision. Just let it come in, calm mind, approach, express, release, work through the dirt. Okay. Okay. And you'll get that also on radio ads, radio stations. They will, you tune into the frequency that they are broadcasting at, and you receive their input of information. In fact, today I was taking the kids to school, and the host speakers on the frequency was saying something about somebody else's life, and I said, nope, shut it off. I don't care what's happening in somebody else's life. That's their life. And then when I'm saying I don't care about what's happening in their life, I mean I don't want to know the gossip that is occurring in their life, but I already have the fortitude and openness to realize to send a blessing that way of good intention. to help them with whatever struggle they are dealing with in their life. But I didn't want my head filled with unnecessary details. That's what I meant. What that I didn't care was the unnecessary details. Um, but video programming, radio programming, it's the same thing. It's trying to convey a message to you in the way that it wants to convey a message to you, rather than in the way that you are most open to receive a bigger picture of what is being said. Um, a lot like news media. News media will tell you a story the way that they want you to receive it. And we won't go into any more further details of those, because you could probably make your own connections of who's feeding you something and who's actually telling you truth. Now remember, truth is within the aspect of a veil, okay? You have to see through the veil to get the full truth of something, okay? This is why I'm telling you that I will not give you the answers. I will give you descriptions and I'll give you some recommendations, but I'm not going to tell you how to do something or that you should do that thing. Rather, when I say should, is actually a recommendation to do your due diligence before you actually test something out, okay? Genres in programming. Genres is like adult, uh, children, adventure, comedy, drama. These are genres, okay? And if you go to the side of a menu, if you have a smart TV and you stream like Netflix or Hulu or any of those other apps that are on your smart TV, you're going to go over and you're going to see a list of genres that you can select. Those programs are geared to elicit that type of genre to you, okay? And if you are most receptive to that type of genre, you're probably going to be watching most of your programs in that kind of genre. But you also shift. So sometimes you're not in the mood for a comedy and you're in the mood for an adventure, or you're not in the mood for an adventure film, you're in the mood for drama, or you're in the field for more information or education. So you might flip it over to National Geographic or Discovery Channel or something like that. It's all perfectly fine. You are literally taking actions that you are probably unaware of that is going to make connections in your life that you're probably not even conscious of. It's okay. This is why there's no blame, there's no guilt. You have to learn. And every aspect of which you are walking, you are learning, and you're learning on top of learning, and on top of that learning, okay? Due diligence. Go do your research. I hope you did some research. When you are watching a film, or listen to the radio, listening to a song, maybe at a concert, you are getting physical programming, you're getting emotional programming, and yes, you are getting psyche programming. Psyche is the collection of mental energy that you are absorbing, okay? Um, you might say that I'm not programmed, I'm not controlled, etc., etc. That's the ego telling you that, because the ego is afraid of you actually taking more control over who you are rather than it, the power that you gave it from historical experiences. Okay. Ego is also created out of identities and successes and failures and metrics. Okay. Um, it also takes account to all of the things that you have previously seen, observed, um, and tries to tell you a fabricated truth to keep you in the pattern that you're at. Because when you're in the pattern at which you're at, you become unaware. But when you are willing to grow and work through your stuff, you're breaking up the genetic energy that you have within you, the patterns that you have within you, and the mental field that's within you, even your emotional field. You're breaking up the negative attachments to bring you up out. Okay. Uh, Programming occurs on many fronts. In school, you get programmed. At home, you get programmed. Programming is a lot like conditioning, with the exception of conditioning is a person actually telling you yes and no, do or don't, um, and usually is accompanied with some type of action to where that person wants you to behave and perform as that person desires, and if it's not met, then they use some type of course correction, whether it's physical, whether it's to you, whether it's taking something away from you temporarily to get you to follow into rhythm of their expectations. Um, this is not an excuse for you to be disrespectful to your family either. This is not for you to be disrespectful to your working environment. You should not be disrespectful towards anyone to begin with. You should have the mindset of being kind at most times. I know you're going to be challenged, and I know you're not going to like me telling you it, but I'm going to tell you it. Choose the kindness. When you choose kindness, your authentic nature comes out. Okay? Um, Behavioral activity. If you watch a film and you're sitting there and some kind of sequence of events occurs in the film, you might actually have a physical response from your body, even though the thing is happening on the screen and you've absorbed the information energetically, and now you are physically reacting in the vibratory state of what you have just observed. Okay? Uh, you will have behavioral activity, you'll have mental activity, you'll have emotional activity in response to what you are observing. Same thing as with people, and you go out and you observe. You are in your home, you observe. You're absorbing all of the information, but you're not consciously aware of what all that information that you are absorbing is coming in. Okay? This is where you put up mental blocks and protections. Okay? You can imagine a shield around you for mental or mental field protection. You can imagine a shield over your heart, which isn't keeping people out of it, but rather protecting it from emotional disturbances that you're not ready to take on. A lot of times we have an open heart of vulnerability and we absorb everything into it. Okay, both the greater emotions and the lesser emotions. Okay. um, Behavioral activity we end up displaying based on the associated identity that we attach to, the fragment of information uh, based on event circumstances. Okay, we develop an identity for that thing, and when we are feeling as that, we actually don the identity of that. Yeah, we might not change our face or whatnot, but we might change how we dress. We might change how we might speak. Um, in the in the psychology universe, and I'm going to say universe because I'm talking about the school of thought of psychology. Um, they might give you terms that suggest personality disorder. Again, a disorder is something that does not fit completely into a cultural acceptance in whatever culture that you are in. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's a negative thing. It means that you're in an area that is socially not usually accepted, And so people are closed off from receiving that as an acceptable thing. Not to be confused, when you are doing a behavioral activity, you should not be doing a behavioral activity of harm. Get that sunk in, okay? This is not an excuse for you to do a behavior that causes harm, either to yourself or someone else. And you can cause harm, again, through your physical body, through your thought body, through your emotional body, through your energetic body, okay? And we'll talk about karmic strings and the law of equivalent exchange, and more about what you send out comes back to you, okay? In that aspect, treat people as you want to be treated. If you want to be treated a certain way, you have to become that way and show that example for others to do that for you. Now, this isn't a walk on you doormat. This is you taking conscious effort to form yourself so that your environment reflects the same thing. If you want to change out there, you have to change within, okay? Same thing with what you think. If you think within what you see out there, you're going to keep getting experiences that match up with how you are thinking about what's out there, okay? You're going to get it. Social rejections. When you show a behavior that is mutually disagreed upon in that culture, you end up getting a social rejection. Some form of possible don't do this. If you went to such a degree, you might have a course correction. You might face a court trial. You might go to jail, etc., etc., because you did not choose to take a better action. Remember, you have the free will to make your choices, but you also have to be responsible and show ownership of those choices you have made and the ripple effect that comes from them. Cool? Awesome. Personality disorders. A real personality disorder is when one shifts from how they are actually talking, how they are thinking, how they are seeing things, how they are carrying themselves in their body language. If you have another identity that you have associated and you put an identity to that thing, you're going to embody that identity and you're going to present yourself. um, you might present yourself to someone and you not know who they are because you now have actually donned the embodiment of a different identity that you have stored in you. That's how personality disorders actually work. When you don't follow an order or something, or you don't follow the instructions of something, that's not a personality disorder. There's something wrong with the way that you are asking me to follow something, and I'm seeing through it, but I don't know how to speak the words or tell you how I can see through that this isn't good for me or I shouldn't do this. That's not a personality disorder. Not an excuse to act however you want to, by the way. Mental activity, imbalances in the mind. They often attribute mental disorders based off the alchemically properties within your mind field and in your brain field. But they don't examine your mind field, they examine your brain activity. So you might have more stimuli in a certain part of your brain that is connecting to a receptor, sending a message down multiple receptors, and like neurons, when one neuron is connected to another one, they all fire at the same time. Yes. Same thing with emotional. You can laugh because someone else is laughing. Connection. But guess what? You probably don't see the thread even though you are laughing. This is why they say laughing is contagious. Because you are connected to somebody, however long it's been a connection. It could be a brief connection, it could have been a long connection. When they're smiling and they're happy and they're joyful and expressing sincere happiness, you catch it. And it's like a spark and ignites a fire. Start the spark of good intention. Okay? Be kind. Um, but I wanted to touch on those things because those were popping up in my head while I was sitting in the chair getting a haircut. And I'm like, really? Right now you want to pour down and I'm in the middle of getting my haircut? I mean, it's up here, but it's pouring down. And that's what I get for always remaining open to the channeling of information. So that if anything comes in my observation or awareness, I will have a higher mind to observe it from an objective view rather than being in the middle of it in an insubjective view. Okay. um, but yes, energy vampires are out there. It's not the vampires you probably saw on movies that have the fangs and dress in a certain garb, etc., that you can repel with garlic. But energy vampires are those who come around and bring you down consistently. There are also energy angels. And these are not the ones that you don't see. These are the people around you that constantly bring up your good emotions. Energy angels do exist. They're just in a different format. And they're unaware that they are doing it to you because they're always happy. They're always excited. They're always in the state of bliss. And they're trying to help you bring yourself up. And sometimes they can get tipped off on scale, but usually they come back to a neutrality rather than completely dropping down to a lower frequency. Um, but energy vampires, energy angels, and the only reason why I use those terms is probably because you associate with those terms in some capacity, and it makes a connection that I am not completely aware of in the makeup of your thought processes. But I am going to share the information because it's flowing, and I do these videos raw because I don't want to edit anything that comes out because I know in that message there's probably something for me as well. um, and I don't want it to sound like it's a rehearsal either. I feel like when you rehearse something, it becomes less authentic than when it actually comes out. And I reach to the audience, and I know everyone in the audience is probably in a different mindset, different field, different work ethic, different emotional state, different physiological state. I completely understand, and I'm actually coming to you, even though I'm on a screen. I'm actually sending energy out to you, and if you are open to receive it, you will receive it. You don't have to ask how to receive it or why to receive it. The only condition is that you are open and allowing it to flow towards you. This is what I mean is I don't have to be in your proximity to send Reiki energy towards you, or a good intention. When you are blessing somebody or you are saying, I hope you get well, you are actually sending an energetic statement out and saying, I hope you get well. Instead of saying, I hope, say, get well. The reason why is because you put that hope there, and then there's like this weird kind of attachment of time format. So instead of saying hope, say get well. Okay, be well. When I say be well, I'm actually speaking it with an energetic voice outward of clear intention. Okay, so you picking it up, you're probably going to receive it and it's going to make your body probably resonate to a certain degree until you allow it to occur. Because remember, I cannot do anything for you or to you or at you without you allowing it. Yeah, that's your permission. I can't do that. Even if I had the skills, if I were to go out and show a physical demonstration of someone becoming well after putting my hands on it, the people that are observing, they're all going to observe in their format. And in that format, some will have subjective views, some will have partial views, some will have objective views, some will see more what's happening than actually everyone else is seeing. This is why most of the time when you come across a resource of a mentioned person that was a facilitator of healing energy, you will not see a record of them writing in it themselves, because it's in the I format. It's usually someone else writing it. Okay? That's also where we get the term source. We get the term God. We get the term Father in the Sky, Great Father in the Sky, Native American culture. Buddha, Dalai Lama. There's multiple different cultures, okay? Do not be offended because I use a wide array of knowledge of different sources of spiritual openness, okay? And each spiritual text has its groundwork. It's a groundwork foundation for you to build up from. And then while you're building up from it, see through by using discernment, okay? If you don't have discernment and you want discernment, request discernment. Ask and it is given. I promise you. Don't ask for something for it to be given in a certain time form, because you're gonna believe that it doesn't occur, because you're expecting a certain time, and everything comes in its actual meant to time. Nothing's rushed, nothing is slowed down, everything comes in its time as necessary. Remember, time is actually an illusionary state of thought, which is in the fourth dimension, not the third dimension. Okay? Anyways, energy vampires, video programming, radio programming, our bodies get programmed, conditioned, trained in a certain way. When we take conscious effort of our own bodies and we have a desired goal and we set that positive charge of our intention in that spider plan of our goals, we are actually taking conscious effort of doing our work within us to come to that goal. We're not focusing on how we compete, how we can beat the other person in some kind of competition. We're actually focusing on bringing our greater value, our greater talent out to the surface. And it might be requiring some conditioning. It might require some physical exercises. It might require some mental exercises, some emotional exercises. It might require a greater nutrition of exercise. It's okay, because we are multi-dimensional beings, okay? And we like what we like, and we dislike what we dislike. Not to be confused with ego, who became comfortable with the patterns that you display. If a pattern has to change because it's causing some kind of disruption or causing chaos in the house, you might want to look at that pattern a little bit more closely, or get the input from other people of what patterns you are displaying, and look at it at an objective view and see from it if there's a way that you can branch from it without losing your core essence of it. When you give out pieces of you, you're giving out pieces of your core essence to other people. All right? And your core essence is limitless as well. You're only limited when you believe in your psyche and in your thought processes that you are limited, because you were taught that you are limited. And if you depend on the physical properties, The physical body can be limited of how you think. Yes. Um, Behavioral activities. Go look up some of the labels that they have about behavior activities or behavior disorders, mental activities, mental disorders, emotional activities, and emotional disorders. Yes, there's even those that are listed out there because we became absorbed and obsessed with labeling, branding, and classifying. Um, and then look up social acceptances. Look up social rejection, what it fully entails. Then put them together and see how behavioral activity and social acceptances and social rejections coincide with that behavior, okay? And then determine from an objective view, remember, you're up here, conscious awareness, if that's something that you want to actually discover a purpose in. Okay, maybe your purpose is just to give information out to the best way that you have been able to absorb, digest, and transmute into understanding from a higher capacity. Maybe you want to be a physical fitness instructor. Maybe you want to be a coach of some kind of nature, whether it's corporate setting, whether it's health and nutrition, whether it's life purpose, whether it's laws of attraction or relational um, uh, coaching. Um, all of them are valid. It's whatever desire you have within you. If you have that desire and it resonated with you, that means it's already been in you. And the only job is to bring it out into the forefront and then work on cultivating it into your platform. Build that spider web. Build that goal plan. Okay? Love you, love you, love you. You beautiful lights. Shine bright and give somebody a smile today. A genuine smile of expression. Have a great day.